time trap, more like grab trap. Oh my god. This special episode from the Loud House sucks. I'll give you the reasons why this episode sucks in my opinion. For Act 1. The episode starts while in the living room. Lori has set up an indoor golf course, with Lincoln being her caddy, Lynn supplying obstacles and the remaining sisters watching as spectators. After getting herself ready, Lori swings her club at the ball, where it begins to ricochet off the furniture. After ricocheting off a table holding a vase, where it begins to wobble, the ball lands near the hole, and everyone cheers when it goes in. But at that very second, the vase from the table falls over and breaks in half. Because of this, everyone blames each other for the accident, but Lincoln tells them that they need to figure out how to fix it, as this is not the first time they broke it. It turns out that the vase was a gift Rita and Lynn Sr. got on their wedding day, and every time the siblings broke it, they would get grounded for increasingly longer periods of time. As the siblings complain that the vase gives them nothing but trouble, Lola wishes they could go back in time to the wedding and prevent them from ever getting it in the first place. This comment causes Lisa and Todd to get an idea. 2 minutes later, Lisa reveals to her siblings that, because she was able to create time travel, she has devised a plan to go back in time to their parents' wedding day to prevent them from getting the vase. When Lynn points out that altering the past can create disruptions in the space-time continuum, Lisa explains that she has a second plan. She would replace the vase with a mundane toaster. She also reveals that, because she doesn't want the siblings to disrupt the past, she plans to go alone, much to their chagrin. 7 minutes later, the siblings arrive to the garage to see that Lisa has converted Vanzilla into a time machine. Upon activating the time machine, Lisa jumps in, Todd gives her the toaster, and she drives back in time. Upon arriving to the past, Lisa discovers that the siblings have tagged along, as they jumped in the van while she wasn't looking. Entering the banquet hall where the wedding reception is being held, the siblings spot the table with all the gifts and attempt to sift through them to find the vase. Unfortunately, the siblings couldn't help but explore the wedding, inadvertently causing trouble like Lena spilling her kale juice on her future mother's wedding dress, Luna suggesting to a young Chunk to play rock music instead of a synthetic ballad, Luan pulling a prank on a nun, and Lola making the flower girls cry after complaining how they're doing their task wrong. Lynn successfully finds the vase, and Lisa proceeds to put the toaster in the pile. Lynn gathers the remaining siblings, but they spot Lily waddling over the table with the wedding cake. The siblings manage to stop her, but they accidentally yank the tablecloth, causing the cake to fly right into Rita and Lynn Sr. As a result, the wedding is a complete disaster, and the siblings quickly leave. The siblings jump into and zip off in Vanzilla. Unbeknownst to them, their leave is witnessed by Mr. and Mrs. Girdle, who believe that they are aliens. The siblings arrive to the present, believing that their worries are now over. They attempt to get into their house, but discover that the door is locked, there's no spare key, and there's no doggy door. After entering via the chimney, the siblings discover things being very different in the house, like the fancier furniture, their bedrooms being missing, and the photos on the wall being only of Rita and Lynn Sr. Suddenly, the kids hear Rita and Lynn Sr. arrive home after a 3-week trip from Europe. They enter the house, see the kids, and ask them why they're here. Despite telling them that they're their kids, Rita and Lynn Sr. tell them that they don't have kids and shoo them out of their house. Because of all the noticeable differences, Lisa realizes that they're in a time linear where they don't exist. And the Act 1 ends. For Act 2, the episode starts while Lisa elaborates to her siblings that because they messed up their parents' wedding, Rita and Lynn Sr. swore to not have kids, meaning that, in the timeline they're in, they were never born. Getting an idea, they decide to ask Mr. Grouse, who is shown to have a more relaxed and youthful vibe, on what he thinks of his neighbors. Mr. Grouse explains that Rita and Lynn Sr. decided to not have kids after a group of rascals, the kids, ruined their wedding. Suddenly, Lori begins to flicker, and within seconds, she disappears from existence. Lisa realizes that the universe is course-correcting itself by erasing the things that don't belong in this timeline and fears that if they don't fix their mistakes, they'll all disappear. The siblings attempt to jump into Vanzilla so they can go back in time to stop themselves from messing up the wedding, but it disappears before they can get in. Since Rita and Lynn Sr. never had kids, there was no need for them to have a vehicle with numerous seats. Because of this, the kids need to rebuild the time machine and steal a vehicle that they can use. At the junkyard, Lisa tells the siblings that they need to find a crankshaft, a part of the time machine. Leanie and Lucy look through a box of mirrors, and Lucy witnesses Leanie disappear. Luna spots a guitar in a case, and suddenly encounters Chunk, who works here. When Luna reveals that she last saw him during one of his gigs, Chunk explains that his last gig was at Rita and Lynn Sr.'s wedding and came to operate his own junkyard after his band never got hired for gigs after the wedding. However, as he talks, Luna starts to flicker and eventually disappears. At that moment, Lana manages to find the crankshaft. Lisa says that the next thing to do is to find plutonium and reveals that Flippies are laced with plutonium. Unfortunately, the food and fuel is not the sleazy convenience store it usually is, as it's now a health food store. Lincoln tries to enter, when suddenly, Chandler swings the door right into his face, as do Clyde, Zach, Liam, Rusty and Stella, who now act like bullies like Chandler. Since Lincoln doesn't exist in this timeline, Chandler is now the leader of his friend circle. The kids enter the store, unaware that Mr. and Mrs. Girdle are spying on them, and as they look around, Luan tries to make a joke, but disappears before she can deliver the punchline. At that moment, Flip enters, wearing hippie clothes and having a more laid-back vibe. When Lisa asks Flip, who prefers to be called Philip, for Flippies, Flip says that he doesn't know what those are, and reveals that he was inspired to run a health food store after an incident at Rita and Lynn Sr.'s wedding where someone, Leanie, stained the bride's dress with her juice. After the kids leave, they are suddenly ambushed by Mr. and Mrs. Girdle, where they explain that after years of trying to find them after the wedding, proceed to capture them. After Lynn disappears, they break out of their net and try to gun it, but the Girdles relentlessly chase after them, where they successfully capture all but Lincoln. Lincoln tries to chase after the van, but he disappears in the process. At the Girdle house, the younger sisters are being held in protective bubbles in the garage, and their claims that they're not aliens are ignored by the Girdles. As Lisa looks around the garage, she spots a container of plutonium on a counter. Getting an idea, Lisa confesses to the Girdles that they are indeed aliens and can prove it by building a spaceship, but needs to be let out to show them, to which the Girdles reluctantly allow. Later, after she builds the time machine on the Girdles' van, Lisa says that she needs plutonium to power it up. As the Girdles rush off to get a container of plutonium, Lily sneaks into the garage and manages to free Lucy, Lana and Lola. As the sisters make their break, Lucy begins to flicker, but she tells them to go without her so she can keep the Girdles distracted. As Lucy disappears and with the time machine enhanced Girdle van operational, the remaining sisters drive back to the wedding. Arriving to the banquet hall on the wedding day, the sisters enter, when suddenly, Lana and Lola begin to flicker and eventually disappear, leaving only Lisa and Lily left. At that moment, Lisa and Lily discover their alternate selves arriving and need to figure out how to stop them from ruining the wedding. Looking around, Lisa spots two doors, one that leads to the wedding, and the other being a maintenance closet. Getting an idea, Lisa decides to trick the alternate kids into going in the closet by bringing the wedding sign over to its door, but not before removing the maintenance closet sign. The alternate kids fall for the trick, and upon entering the closet, Lisa forcefully shuts the door on them. Suddenly, she spots Lily about to tamper with the wedding cake again. Rita and Lynn Sr. witness this and attempt to stop her, but instead of ruining the cake, she instead smears some icing onto her finger and dabs it onto her future parents' noses. Moved by this act of cuteness, Rita and Lynn Sr. proclaim that they can't wait to have kids of their own. With the wedding saved, Lisa and Lily travel forward in time, and all the siblings who disappeared from existence come back to life. Arriving back to the present, the kids are happy to see that their timeline is back to normal. At that moment, Rita and Lynn Sr. arrive home after getting pizza and quickly discover their wedding vase broken. Seeing the kids look seemingly happy that it's broken, the parents tell them they're grounded for 2 months, but the kids don't mind, as they hug their parents and tell them they want to live with them as long as they can, to which two parents follow along. During the hug, Lisa discovers to her horror that on the fireplace mantel, Lily had photobombed their parents' wedding picture. And the whole episode ends. And that's how the episode goes. Thank God I never watched that episode and I never will, or else it would waste my time. I don't know who likes this episode, so I'm just going to leave it be. Who hates this episode? Rhiannon Davis. After all, she's the one who requested me this rant, so screw Time Trap, and screw musical chairs. Present Danger is 326,100 times better than Time Trap. End of rant.